Hey everybody, it's Andreas with another episode of The Next Level You. Today I'm going to talk about motivation, and specifically what kind of motivation works best. There are different kinds of motivation, and in fact some of them can take you to exactly where you need to be as quickly and efficiently as possible. Other types of motivation, while they work in the short term, are actually detrimental to your long-term goals. So they'll move you not only away from your goal, but in fact, you might never get to your goal because you're using this kind of motivation. So first, let's just understand what motivation is from the perspective of the next level you. Motivation is literally anything that propels you to take action in any direction. Anything that propels you to take action in any direction. There's reactive motivation, which is when something happens outside of us that almost forces us to take action. So for example, somebody calls me a name, I never want to be called that name again, so I change myself so that I never get called that name again. That's reactive. Usually reactive is from external sources, okay? Then there's proactive. Proactive is when we choose ourselves internally to do something. So for example, I'm doing my next level work. This is where proactive motivation happens a lot. And I say to myself, man, I want to have a certain kind of life. I want to have a certain house, let's say, for example. It's not that I've been made fun of for my house. It's just that that's what I want at my next level. And so I'm going to choose to motivate myself, to find what motivates me. Maybe it's a picture of the house, imagining myself in the house, living in the house in my mind. That is a proactive motivation because I did it for myself. Without prompting, I chose to do that. And as important as it is to know what the origins of the energy for motivation is, it's more important to know, and this is the key to powerful motivation, it's more important to know which direction the motivation moves you. So there are two directions for motivation. There's away motivation and towards motivation. Okay, for some people that's away and towards motivation. Let me give you an example of this in an image that I want to set up for you. It'll help you to understand this in your subconscious. So I want you to imagine you're standing at a lake. Okay, and you are across directly from the house of your dreams. Whatever that house looks like for you, big, small, natural, industrial, whatever it is, I want you to just imagine that you are directly across the lake from this house. And you are told, and it's 100% true, that if you get across that lake to that house, and the lake is calm, beautiful lake, you can have that house. No questions asked, it's yours forever. Everything works out perfectly, you'll have that house. And all you have to do is row across the lake. Okay, let's say you're already a really good rower. It's an easy boat, no problem, you're gonna get there. So you start the journey to the house. And along the way, all of a sudden an alligator pops up. This is gonna motivate you. And there are two ways you can be motivated by this alligator. Let's call that an obstacle. There's away motivation. So get away from the alligator at all costs. When you are motivated that way, we can get out of the boat, we can swim, probably not smart, we can get out of the lake entirely. It doesn't matter where we go in the lake, we just gotta get the F away from this alligator. Now I ask you at that point, how likely is it that you get to the house that way? It is very unlikely, almost impossible for you to get to the house if you're focused on getting away from the alligator. And we can get really lost in that. We can get paranoid about alligators. We can think it might come back, and so we can't take any action, right? Now let's say we're towards motivated. When we see the alligator, we think in our minds, I'm getting to that house. That's my towards motivation. So now I have to just get around this thing or through this thing, and I get creative because I'm towards motivated. What are the likelihoods that I'm going to get to the house? Very, very high. Now, just like away motivation, there's a chance something could go wrong, but it's much less likely that something goes wrong and much more likely that I get what I want. So how does this apply to our lives? Here are a couple examples. For internal, something that I come up with on my own. Okay, it's for me. It's proactive. Let's say that I decide that part of my next level life is being in great shape. The away motivation version is, I'm not going to be fat. Forget that. F that. I'm not going to be fat. Okay, so in the short term, it drives me to go work out. It drives me to just clean up some stuff. But in the long term, there are many, many ways to not be fat. And not all of them are healthy. In fact, many of them are unhealthy. I won't eat right. Maybe I'd take some drugs I shouldn't be taking. I'm going to do whatever it takes to not be fat. Eventually, that could move me very far away from being healthy. In fact, it could actually be dangerous to me. But a towards version is I am going to be healthy. Now, for me, that doesn't even work enough. I need more towards motivation. So I am going to look awesome in that swimsuit I bought for myself, and my friends are going to ask me, hey, bro, what are you doing? That's a towards motivation for me. Now let's take something external, meaning something that's around us, maybe even happening to us. Let's say that there's a certain person at work who uses language I don't like around me, right? Well, if my goal is to not have them use that language around me, or I don't want to experience that language anymore, and I use an away motivation, so no more of that language. There are many ways that I can try to get no more of that language. Confrontation is one way to say, hey, don't use that language with me. Maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. Another way, though, is to stop interacting with that person. And another way is to just shut down and not interact with people at all. So eventually, I think I'm running away from the language, but I'm actually wrecking my life socially. And I'm actually wrecking my confidence because I'm not approaching people anymore. And the fact is, really, I'm not going to get away from that language anyway because somebody else might use it somewhere. Now I'm a loner. Now I'm a hermit. Now I'm whatever the names are that people call me. I don't actually get away from the thing that I wanted to get away from. The towards motivation might be, I am going to learn how to have strong conversations with people, set boundaries, and remain flexible. Awesome. I didn't require them to really actually do anything. I required myself to go and get a stronger form of communication to let people know this is what I want and what I don't want. Next level, last thing, next level tip for getting farther, even to the next level, is to remember that reactionary and proactive motivations are never as powerful as towards and away. So whether you're doing something that's reactionary or whether you're being proactive about it, make sure to understand that moving towards it will absolutely give you a better chance to get there. Moving away from it will absolutely lower your chances of getting there. So it's not, for example, fear that's the problem. It's what you do with it that's the problem. You have to be focused on what you want instead of focusing on what you don't want. If you have any questions or comments, please do so below. Ask me. I love interacting. You can even reach out to me personally. And if you like what you're hearing, then subscribe to my YouTube channel. Depending on where you're watching this video, there are details either in the comments below from me or a link in my bio. You guys, I hope you have an awesome day. And remember, don't just call yourself out, call yourself forward.